Yes, classes, as we said, classes and objects are very important in object-oriented programming. Classes and objects are two main aspects of the object-oriented programming, and C# is an object-oriented program. And in object-oriented programming, we solve complex problems by dividing them into objects. And here, important thing that the important activity is that we are going to create class first, and then we are going to objects from classes. Here, the example to the illustration, here, the car, for example, what is class and what is object? Here, that if we're discussing about car, and the car, it is a general term, and it is class. And from class, that we are going to create the objects. For example, here, the brands, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Volvo are objects that we are going to create from car class. It will be, or they will be objects. They will be same common properties, of course, each one for each objects, and they can have own special properties also that we can say. Of course, it is related to base class and the subclasses. Also, we are going to discuss about it. And here also another example, it is fruit, for example, here that the class, and then we are going to create objects. Apple, banana, mango are objects that we are going to create from fruit class. Yes, they are two main aspects, classes and objects. Today we are going to create them. We are going to use it in our example. And here, the class actually will be template, or we are going to say blueprint for objects. We are going to create objects, but the class will be our template or blueprint for objects. An object is an instance of a class. Objects is an instance of a class. And the smallest and basic entity is object. And all kind of computation is performed on the objects only in object-oriented programming. And when the individual objects are created, they inherit all the variables. It is important, inherit all the variables and the methods from the class. We are going to create objects, and it will inherit all the variables and the methods from class that can use the methods, of course. Yes, and here the how we can write, it is example codes, example declaration in C#. We are going to use class keyword. Here it is lowercase letters, and then class name. Class name is actually a good coding exercise using Pascal case again. You can see it is Pascal case that each word starts with uppercase letters. And here an example that the class keyword and then class name, and between curly braces that we are going to write over fields. It's another that of class variables and methods that we are going to write between these curly braces. And here it is not required, but it is actually that the writing using like this. The Pascal case, it is not required, but it's good practice. It's to start with an uppercase first letter and Pascal case. And the command that the name of the C# file and the class match, it is a good coding exercise also in C#, but it is not required like Java. In Java that you required have to be class name and the file name the same. You have to write in Java, but in C# you don't have to write it, but it is good coding exercise, actually good practice using also same class name and same file if you are going to create a separate file for classes. Yes, here example, here that the variables, this part that we are going to say field, it is variables, class variables. What we are not going to use this format, actually, I am going to show you. We are going to use different format. But yes, it is also possible that you can use. It is for good to understand. It is variables are field, and here the methods. Methods, yeah, class can contain methods and of course variables that we are going to see field. Here that the class name is dog and the field is breed, and then method is bug. Yeah, member of a class that in C# fields and methods inside a class that we are going to say also members of a class, or in different template that we are going to say property of a class. The properties that we are going to use actually auto implemented property in C#. I'm going to show it now. Yes, it is another example also that here that the class keyword and my class between curly braces that we have class members, fields, and methods. But again, we are not going to use this template. We are going to use auto-implemented method. But here, the for each variable is field, and here full throttle is a method in this my class. Yes, and now, yes, this is actually, we are going to use auto-implemented property. It is properties that we are going to say class properties. And now here in this class that the class student and student class has two properties. One of them is the first name and another one is the last name. Here, yes, we are going to declare it accessing modifier will be public. And here the type of the property, and the first name is the name of the property, and here get and set. It will be actually for gather that we are going to set data to this variable, to this property, we are going to say, and we are going to get data. We are going to read from this given value, of course. Yeah, it is also important to this using this auto implemented property will help us also when we are going to work with database and we are going to create table, of course, that the database will hold the tables like this, for example. For each one will be records the data. For example, here we are going to write ID, and another one will be, for example, first name and last name. And yeah, and for example, address. It is just example. And we are going to send data, first name, last name, and the for address. And here, the object-oriented programming and this kind of the auto-implemented method will help us during, of course, send data and read data and so on. It is also possible that you can use this auto-implemented method property like this. I'm going to explain your question. It is also possible that the string name here, the field, it will be field, okay? And here also name, it is property, and get is a method that it will return the value of the name. When you want to get the value of the name, for example, and it is actually getter that we say getter or get method. And the set method is set the value to variable. It is sets to variable. It is set method or setter. We say getter and setter. It is actually method. But in this way, we don't need to write some more code. It is more clear, less code, more understandable. And yes, it is actually this using, and this using actually is the same in C#. But it is this using auto-implemented property is easier, less code, more understandable, and more quick that you can type your code, more again, that more understandable. And yes, it is possible. And let's see. It is also a possible way that you can write in C#. In Java also, it's working, we're writing that this way. First fields that declaring, of course, that the fields actually private, have to be hidden, have to be secure. And here get method need to be create get method or gather. It's get to name, get to value of the field. It's that the assigned to name. And here the first and another one is the set method. It is setter. Also, it is possible that you can use in C#, but this way is not convenient when we are going to work with the database, actually ORM. Actually, it is possible to work with database, but we are going to discuss about ORM, that the entity framework, object relational mapper, and this auto-implemented method, it's a proper way to working with ORM. It is faster way, more understandable, less code, and so on. Yeah, it is get and set. It is actually method, but here it is an auto-implemented property. We don't need to write some more code. It will be that we can get set to data and we can get the value from the object. Actually, we are going to set to value, and we are going to get the value for related data from object. Continue here, creating object first. For creating object, we are going to, it is actually, we are going to create, it's basically, it is that you can understand, we are going to create own types. For example, int, string, bool is type, but using classes in object-oriented programming, we are going to create own types, and the class name actually will be our type. We are going to create objects, and the object types will be class name actually. Now, let's see how we can create object. It is class name, an object name, and is equal, a new keyword, it is important, and a class name. Here, it will be constructor. This will be constructor. Also, I am going to discuss about that. We are going to discuss about constructor. It is also very important. It is special method. It is also method, but it is special method that the same name with the class. And it will be the template for create when we are going to create object. And here, new keyword to create an object of the class, and obj, it is the object name. For example, here that we have student class, and we can create student object. It is student. It will be type of the student object, and the student one is the object name. It is exactly the same, the variable, the rules, and the camel case that it is, yeah, it is good to use. And new keyword, and of course, student will be default constructor. Yes, also it is student one object. Student one object has first name property and last name property. Of course, we are going to set value, set data to first name, and also we are going to set data to last name for student one object. And also when we want to get it, when we want to show on the screen, for example, we are going to use, of course, we are going to get the data. Yes, now we are going to do that here. Also multiple objects that we can create as much as we need. Here, the student class again, it has two properties, first name and last name. And here, student one object and student two. It is also another object. And also that you can create as much as you need. Of course, that we are going to discuss also tomorrow with different ways also, that without name and so on, also that we can create, and we are going to put it into list, and we are going to read from list and so on. Also that you can, of course, that you can put into array, but the lists are very, very convenient way and dynamically resized, and very, very convenient that we are going to use. And let's continue here. Yeah, it is the class members, but yeah, again, that we are going to use this auto implemented method. Here also that we say that the class members for variables and the methods, if you see some examples like this, it is, yeah, possible in C#, but actually we are going to use this template actually. Yes, and constructor. It is another important topic in object-oriented programming. A constructor is a special method that is used to initialize objects. It will be blueprint, template of the object. And the advantage of a constructor is that it's called when an object of a class is created. It can be used to set initial values for fields. Also, directly, we can set the data directly using a constructor template. But we are going to define it also. That the developer have to be defined if to be use different constructors. In C#, a constructor is similar to a method that is invoked when an object of the class is created. And however, unlike methods, a constructor has the same name as the class of the class and does not have any return time. It will not return any data. It will be template of the creating objects. And the constructor can be default as like this. It is default that we are going to say. No any parameters. It is default that we are going to say. No argument, or can be parameterized, that we can send argument, and the arguments will be value of the object.